Hello everybody, welcome back to the show. As you can see, we have a different camera angle this week, making some changes around here, hopefully for the better. If you like it, let me know in the comments. Now, back to the content. So, today we are talking about something I poked at a little bit last week. Got my notes for me. Today we're talking about a beautiful piece of unknown history. You guys know, if anybody knows me out in person, they know I love the weird non-traditional history. So what we have is this. Now this is a wannabe Walther PPK. Well, in all actuality, probably the Walther PP. So the Walther PP was designed in the 1920s. It was designed to be a police. It was one of the first firearms designed to be a police issued firearm. It was made for, it was a semi-automatic, somewhat reliable. We'll get into that as we take this apart, but it had some issues. But overall, it was a beautiful early design of a single stack, straight blowback firearm. And I believe the original design came out in 1922. Edits will correct me on that. But what we have in my hand here is not a Walther. This is its Soviet commie cousin, the PA-63. Now, there were some other variants of this firearm made in the Soviet Union. The East Germans had a version of it that was not very. They're worth a lot of money now, but they weren't as widely issued as this was. This was Hungarian by design, and it was used by Hungarian troops to patrol the border or their military in general. So, with that said, let's get into the history of it. So, obviously, the PA-63 was designed in, as the name would design, 1963, just as a kind of a copy of the Walther P38, or of the Walther PPK. I'm going to keep making that mistake because I just did a video on the Walther P38. My bad. But this firearm is constantly sold as a Makarov, which I believe is a big flaw, considering that the Makarov shares nothing in the similar design as this. So I wish I had a Makarov I could show you guys the difference in, but the firearm god has not blessed me with that so far. So let's move on to the next thing, the disassembly. I'm about ready to take this apart, and for Facebook's sake and YouTube, it is empty, and we'll begin the disassembly. The slide's been pulled back and it's in battery. You can now take it apart. So, if my lighting will correct here. Okay, so you see this little lever here? You pull this down, and you have it lock up on that lid, like so. Okay. And now what you can do is you just pull this all the way back, and you'll get to a point where the lip catches, and you lift up, and the slide comes off. All right, we'll just sit this down here. And then you can remove your spring, and here you go, you have your basic disassembly of this firearm. Now, I could pull my screwdriver out and take the grips off and show you a little bit of that, but it's not really important. But here you can see a pretty good view of how the weapon works and how it functions. You have the magwell here that just simply brings the round into the chamber, and from there it is a pretty standard straight blowback system. For reason's sake, we will just do an exchange here. So pretty simple. You can see my finger if it would stop adjusting. If you look here, you can see this this little action here is moving it. It's not as good to see on this side as it is on this side. The trigger mechanism, if you look here, is attached to this pin, and this pin connects down here. And then once the trigger's been pulled, it sends the hammer into the firing pin assembly, which makes the round go off. Now, like I said, there's not much to it. I could try to take it down even further, but in my past experience, I've had a hard time with that. So we ain't gonna do that. Instead, we're just gonna do a reassembly, which is pretty basic. Oh, and something to note too, the spring, you have to make sure you put it on the right way, because there are two different sides to this spring. There is a open side and a cantered side. If you try to take the cantered slide and put it on here, you have a hard time. But if you take the non-cantered slide, it slides right on. And we just go in reverse of how we took this off. This is and you want to make sure the hammer's back. Bring this back all the way, and then put this back in there, and the weapon is ready to fire. A little bit more information that I found when I was digging around and stuff. And if you all know anything else about this, somewhat, it's got a niche. It's kind of popular. It's kind of not. I've seen some. It's one of those classic Soviet bloc firearms that you just see at your local gun store, and that just kind of collects dust. But it is a poor man's Walther PPK. If you were a huge James Bond fan like I was, I saw this and I thought, ooh, that is a Walther. Well, I was wrong, but it's close enough. It was close enough for what I was looking for. At the time, I was looking for something I was working in a pretty dangerous area, and I just wanted something to protect myself. So this was one of my first firearms I ever purchased, and I don't regret it. I paid $200 for it at the time. Now I see them on Gun Broker for almost $350. I saw one at $380. So I thought I made a good deal on that. Speaking of $380, I cannot talk about this gun without talking about something that they actually did because of how popular this gun was. So this firearm was so popular that they actually, in the West, after the Soviet Union fell and all the other stuff that happened, gun runners and, communist generals becoming capitalist arms dealers. Anywho, these guns became so popular and got a niche following that FEG, the company that made them, started making conversion kits to 380 instead of, because this gun shoots 9mm Makarov. Very popular round in former Russian countries and in Soviet areas at the time. And you can still, a lot of countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, they all still use and service weapons that take 9mm Makarov. So it's still a very, very prevalent cartridge in the third world. But with that said, they found a niche in the market where they could sell conversion kits to make these 380. I'm not saying I'm gonna try to do it because as much as I love my gunsmithing and love tooling and tinkering with stuff like this, I don't think I have the patience to do this, because it should be as simple as we saw. It's just the barrel is literally just pinned into a housing that allows this housing actually right here that allows it to stay in place. Now, would I want to do that? Probably not. I mean, I like the gun pretty much as it is. It's a cute little piece of history, especially for anybody that, I know I said it already once before, but for anybody that is a huge James Bond fan and looking for a something that you could carry and say, oh, cool, that's a James Bond gun, and people would not even notice the difference. And I think, to me, that's cool. So, oh, when I purchased it, it came with this not easily carryable holster. And here's the magazines for it. So, as you can see, this got this oddball 9mm Makarov cartridge, which, for reference, we will take one of these out, pull a 9mm from our gun drawer, and show the two in a comparison. Completely different cartridges. One is hollow point, one is full metal jacket, but the overall size and shape of these bullets are completely different. They are designed different, which is why you couldn't just replace the 9mm Makarov with a 380 and vice versa. Actually, I think I have a 380 bullet. I do. So here we have the 380 bullet and 9mm Makarov side by side. Now you'll see that the 380 is a touch smaller in width and size. They are not interchangeable, unfortunately. For those of us who love interchangeability, they are not. But that just goes to the way they were designed and being one Western world, one commie. So, and that's the FE PA-63. If you know anything about this gun that I didn't bring up, or if you have any cool stories about it, please leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me about your experience shooting them, because I've got a... should probably talk about this. I have a very mixed opinion on shooting this thing. It is a very comfortable gun to shoot, one-handed. Outside of that, it gets a little complicated. If you try your traditional holding it like this, you will get slide bite. But if you hold it one-handed, it's not near as bad. But I've shot this. My brother carried this for a while. And we both put probably maybe 100 rounds through this. We didn't shoot it very often, but this thing is not the most comfortable to shoot. Now, in a self-defense situation, obviously, yeah, it's not too bad within 5 yards. But after 5 yards, you start losing some of your accuracy, and especially, not meaning to flag myself here, but these sights are not the best. It's not made to be a, let's see if I can get this. It's not made to be a long distance gun. So, all in all, I give it about a C rating when it comes to the firing it. It's got a very, we'll do this too, a very interesting trigger pull. It's not too bad on the reset, but that first pull in double action only is very, if you can see my hand forcing this. It's not the greatest. So, but again, Soviet era commie guns. The only gun that the Soviets did right was the AK and the SKS. In my opinion, every other gun that they made is trash. One of these days, I hope to get my hands on an Nagant revolver just so I can show you how much of trash that was. But granted, that wasn't Soviet design. That was actually Russian Imperial design. But we'll leave it there. So that was my brief tour of this this weapon system. And with that said, thank you all for watching. I know it was a shorter video. This was kind of impromptu, trying to get back into the swing of making videos here. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and I will see you all in the next video. As always, stay strong, watch your six. And be sure, if you stayed this long, make sure you check out USCCA. They're a sponsor of mine. I like them, I use them. They are a casualty property insurance company that also helps with training and legal action when involving firearms. So please make sure you check the link below. There will be a link to show you the 6 ways to deal with the law enforcement once you've been involved with an accident. As always, stay strong, watch your six. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.